Hello guys, so in this video I'll be coding a 100% winning strategy. There is a YouTube video from this guy, Top Master Trader, that talks about winning 100% of your trade every time. So I've coded this strategy before, but it needs margin simply because it only works in a trending market. So this is how it works. He said we have to initialize with a buy or a sell, right? So let's assume we initialize with a buy at this point. Let's change this color to green, right? So after buying here, the market refused to go our direction. So let's say at 20 pips distance, maybe around this point, right? So we place a new sell position. So at this point, we create a new sell position with higher lot size. Assuming the first lot size is of 0.01. So the next position, which is this cell, will be of 0.02 or 0.03 depending on your choice. Then if the market goes a little bit in the sell position's favor, in total we will have a cumulative positive profit or loss. And in the case where the market reverses and come back to this point, we have another new position, right? So we have another new buy with higher lot size compared to this last sell position, which is 0.04. Let's assume you are increasing by 2. So in the case where the market reverses again, we have another sell position of higher lot size, which is 0.08 and so on. So in the video, he mentioned that we should have a fixed take profit and stop loss, but using a fixed take profit or a fixed stop loss doesn't really work, because if you the stop loss for the buys must be the take profit for the sell, and the take profit for the sell must be the stop loss for the buy, right? Meanwhile, as I explained in my earlier videos, buy position get closed at the bid price and the sell position get closed at the ask price. Meanwhile, if there is a spread, even if the take profit of the buy and the stop loss of the sell is at the same price level, in the case where you have spread, the market might take out stop loss of a particular direction and eventually reverses at that point and not take out the other take profit of the other direction, leaving one side open, which can cause a logic error. So the solution to that is, instead of leaving the position in the mercy of take profit and stop loss, which can be wrong when the spread is high, so what we can do is we can let the EA monitors it. In the moment there is a cumulative floating profit, we make sure that we close all the position without waiting for the fixed take profit or the fixed stop loss being triggered. So this strategy works, like I said, but it only works in a trending market. So which is why I decide to add something to it. It has been coded and fully explained, especially in my Udemy course as one of the class projects. So now what I'm trying to do here is, let me quickly remove this. So now what I'm trying to do is, I want to have another indicator called SuperTrend. So let me quickly add the indicator. So I already have the indicator installed. Here you go. So this SuperTrend, what we will be doing is that when we have a buy position, right? So we are going to enter a buy position. Then if the market goes in our favor, we are going to trail till thy kingdom come, right? And when we see a sell position, we are going to close. So far we are now in profit, right? Or if the trailing stop get it, we close and wait for the next entry signal, right? Then we close the buy position and open a new sell position, right? So here we close the sell position and open a new buy, and here we close the buy position and open a new sell, and here we, and so on until the point where, after, let's say after a buy, so this is just an example, so, or let's say after a sell and the market refused to go in the sell direction or trail positively, so what we are going to do is we are going to have a new position when there is a new buy signal, then with higher lot size, right? So that is what we'll be doing. Then after getting that, if the market move in the direction of the higher lot size, we close at a positive profit, right? And in the case where the market refused to go in the direction of the higher lot size, so we have another sell position with higher lot size compared to the last buy position, then we also place another buy position that is of higher lot size compared to the last sell, and so on. So to understand this better, try as much as possible to watch this video. So you can simply type in the name and you will get the result. So the moment you type in exactly this title, you will get the result. So let's quickly get into it. So first thing first, let's create a new project, right? So I'll call it SuperTrend Recovery EA, right? So I'll clean this up. So first thing first, let's get our include files. So one of the thing we need from the user is the magic number. So we want a unique magic number. So let's have this. So we can name this magic number. Then we want this starting lot size to be specified, right? So we can say starting lot size. Then we want the lot size to be increased at each level, right? So let's say we want to increase it by 2, right? So we see that in action as well. Then let's set the edge break even at a particular. So instead of having a stop loss and a take profit for each position, so to avoid the issue of spread, so what we can do is we can have a fix. So we can have the EA monitor the break even. So the moment the break even value is at a particular level, let's say $1, so we want to close the position. So that is what I'm trying to do there. So we want a trade comment as well. So each position should have a particular label. So this will be the label, so that I'll be able to identify each position created by this EA, right? So that is why I have it like this. So I can say trade comment. So now the next thing is, remember that we intend to add a super trend for the entry, right? So we can easily say, oops, we can easily have this handle for the super trend, super, right? Then we say handle super is a custom indicator. So yeah, so we can have the time frame, because so we can say this, and we just specify the name of the indicator. So basically this is the name of the indicator. Also you can see it here, this is the name of the indicator, right? So I would say super trend 1.ex5. So I will leave the default in the case where you want the user to be able to change the setting as well. So what you can do is you can have the setting for this super trend, you can have it here, then input it here one by one, so that the user will be able to change the setting. But I would like to use the default in this case so that I won't waste our time. So let's quickly create a function that will handle the trade operation. So I can say super trend recovery. Okay, let me say trend recovery, and this will take in, yes, this. So I have this here. You know what? It will return nothing. Then now what I want to do is I want to check if there is an open position. Remember how to do that. If you've been following my videos, you remember this function. So you can say last position or order. So we can last position or order, right? So let's quickly create this function. So what this function is within it will be returning the index of the last position. So we can easily loop through, right, from the last position. Last position total, right? So if we be selecting the position, if we are able to select it, right, and the position symbol is equal to the chart symbol, right? Also, if the position's magic number is equal to our magic number, the magic number specified by the user, so we want to return that index. And in the case where you can't find it, what we can do is we want to also check if there is an open order. So this is for position. This we are going to check for orders. So in the case where there is an open order, right? So you want to return that index too. So that means there is an open position or order for this particular EA. So we want to act on that. So you can say order get ticket. If you're able to successfully select this ticket, right, and this other symbol, gets string, and this other symbol is equal to the chart symbol, right, and this other's magic number is equal to the trade magic number, then I want to return the index, right? So this is the job of this guy. Then if there is no order and there is no position, that means if trade index, we have to return -1 if there is no position and there is no order. So in the case where there is no position and there is no order, that means if the trade index is equal to -1, so what do we want to do? And in the case where it is not, that means there is an open position. So we can say search for new position here. Searching for new position. Right? So in this case, what we can do is we can manage positions / orders, right? So that is what we'll be doing here. So how should we search for new position? Like I said, it should be through the SuperTrend. So let's quickly grab the values for the SuperTrend. But before we do that, let's quickly observe the SuperTrend. You realize that whenever there is an arrow, this particular buffer gets a value. Whenever there is a green arrow, you can see, and when there is no green arrow, no values. So now let's check for the other arrow. You can see whenever we have this red arrow, this particular particular buffer usually have a value. So this you can see. So what we can do is we can track these two buffers. So whenever this buffer is not empty, that means it is a buy signal from the SuperTrend. So whenever this buffer is not empty, that means it is a sell signal. So let's quickly do that. So we can say let's save our buffer for the, you can say soup buy. So we can save the buffer in this array, and we can save this buffer in this array, right? So let's just copy the buffer using this same handle. So the buffer for buy is 0. So we just want 5 of the values. Then we want to store it here. So that is what we're doing there. Let's copy the buffer for the sell position as well. So for the sell buffers. So for the buffer for sell is 1. And we want to start getting our value from index 0. Then how many? 5. So we want to save it here, right? Then we want to make sure that we set this buffer, this array as series. So you can say array as series true, so that we will be able to sort it out. So cell, right? So now if the buffer of the super trend of index 0, which is the buy buffer, is not empty, what we can do is we can easily buy using the starting lot size. Buy, right, with what price? We can say 0, so automatically the ask price, right? So then we can say at what stop loss. Let's not use a fixed stop loss. We can just say 0 as well. We can say 0, then we can say comment. So this is what we can do. And for the sell case, in the case where the buffer, in the case where the previous candles buffer for the sell buffer, in the case where the previous candle for the sell buffer is not empty, right? So that means there is a red arrow showing up in the previous candle. So we want to start with the fixed lot size. We want to start with this fixed lot size. Then we want to buy for this particular symbol, which is the chart symbol. Then at what price? The bid price, but we can equally specify 0 automatically to pick up the bid price itself. Then the stop loss should be 0 and the take profit should be 0. Then the trade comment should be this. So that is what we are trying to do there. So now let's quickly save and compile to see that in action. Oops, I might need to increase this. Okay, now we have no error, so let's quickly test our EA. So I have my strategy tester. So if you don't have this, you can either go to view, then go for strategy tester. So this is my EA, right? And I can start with, let's say, 1000. So I will backtest from 2026 January, and I'll be on the 5-minute time frame. Then these are my settings. Oops, I did not disable this. So let me start. Okay, good. You can see, oh, we are having a problem. The problem is that we are trying to see if, yeah, we're trying to see if there is an open position on or an open order based on this symbol and based on this magic number, but we did not remember to assign magic number to each position or order traded by this EA. So we can do that by saying trade set magic number, so you can assign it like this, so we can save and compile. That will solve the problem. So let's try again. So click on start. Okay, let's see. You can see this is a buy signal and it buy once, right? So that is what we want. So but now it won't be able to close any of the positions simply because we've not done much. But you can see when it sees a buy position, it's buy, and of course when it sees a sell position, it is going to sell. So that is that. So let's quickly continue. So now in the case where the markets move in our favor, we want to trail. So let's quickly prepare parameters for trailing, right? So now we can have a new set of setting that says, do you want to trail? If you want to trail, you want to say, do you want to trail? Yes. So what you'll be doing is you say use trailing, and watch at what distance you want to start trailing. So you can say trailing start. You can leave it by default to be 100. So you can say trailing start. So this will be in pips, right? So what distance do you want between the market price and your new stop loss? So we can say trailing step, right? Should also be 100. So each time the market move by 100, I want 100 pips to be between my market price and my stop loss. So that is what we are trying to do there. So, but before we go ahead with trading, we need to be sure that you only have one position open, right? So we need to get the total number of open position. So how can we do that? We can do that by having a new function named total field position. So total position. So you can say total position, because position is quite different from others, right? So total position, then you can take this out because you're not interested in others. You're only interested in positions. So, and for this, we can easily say this is what will be handling the count. So in this case, so then we say count plus plus. Then we later return this count. So that should do the trick. So what we can do is we can have it here, call it field. So this, we get the number of total position or total field trade. And in the case where we have a field position of just one, that means we've not entered the recovery zone strategy. So we are only handling just one position. So in that case, we want to select the last position, which is of course this trade index value. And after that, so another thing is we want to make sure that trading is also activated. So don't do this if trading is not activated, right? Then what we want to do is we want to see if the position type of this last position, if the position type is of buy, position type buy is of buy, right? And the price current, which is, let's say, the bid price, and the position's entry price, price open. So in the case where the price current, which is the bid price, and the entry price for this buy position is greater or equal to a particular target, let's say trail target, so we can have this here. So we can simply say, so we can say trade target. So you can say trail start, right, multiply by a point, multiply by 10, right? So this, the moment the difference between the bid price or the price current, the potential price at which this buy position can get closed, and the entry price, that means the moment there is a positive so the moment there is a positive move on that position, and that move is greater or equal to this trailing start at this point at which the user wants us to start trailing, in that case, we want to make sure that the old stop loss, or we can say current, you know what, let's see old stop loss. The old stop loss, which is this, we can say old Excel here, stop loss. So the moment the stop loss is equal to 0, or the stop loss is less than, or so the moment the stop loss is equal to 0 or less than the entry price. So that means each time the market move in our favor after reaching that trailing start threshold, you always want to increase the, so we always want to move our stop loss. So we see that in action in a few minutes now. So the moment the stop loss is less than the entry price. So we want to start our trading when the trailing start threshold is reached, then our stop loss is 0 or the stop loss is less than the entry price, right? So that is when we want to start our trading. And in that case, what we want to do is we want to trail. Now we can say trade position modify, right? So we can start with the ticket. Then what is the new stop loss? So we can say new XL. So the new XL will be the distance between the market price or the potential price at which this buy position can get closed, which is the price current, right? Oops, price current. Then and then trailing step multiplied by point multiplied by 10. So this will be the stop loss for the buy, the new stop loss for the buy, right? So now what should be the take profit? The take profit can be the previous take profits. Of course, that will be 0. So that is what we'll be doing here. So now that is one case. So this will be the first trading, right? So the second trading will be when the difference between the current price and the new stop loss is times 2 of this trailing step. So let's say our initial position is at this level, right? Then the market moves to this level and our stop loss becomes this, right? So let's move this to yellow, red. So let's say our stop loss becomes this. Meanwhile, the moment the difference between the market price and this new stop loss is times 2 of our trailing step. So let's assume the market moved to this level. So we are going to move our stop loss also to this level. So now the market is here, right? So the moment the market also move to this level, so what we are going to do, we are going to move our stop loss as well. Then as the market move further, let's say the market move to this point again, then we move our stop loss, and so on until the market reverses and hits our stop loss. So that is what we are trying to do, right? So let's quickly handle that case. So what we can do is, if we are still dealing with the buy case, right? Position type buy, and target has been reached, right? So we can easily copy this. So let's copy this. Then the old stop loss is greater or equal to the entry price open, right? That means this has been done. This first trading has been done, and we now want to move to the next one. Also, the difference between the price current, which is the market price, and the old stop loss is times 2 of this trading step. So we can have this as a variable. So instead of always having to code this, so we can say trail start, trail step. So we can have it here, trail step. So that means if the difference between the market price and the old stop loss is greater or equal to times 2 of that trading step, that means the market has moved times 2 of that distance. Then it is time for us to move the stop loss in the middle. So that is what we are trying to do here. So you can easily say, what we want to do is I want you to modify. So the new stop loss will be the difference between the market price and the trading step, because the trading step, the difference between the market price and the trading step is currently times 2 of the trading step. So we want to move it to times 1. So that is what we are trying to do. So we are going to be doing similar thing with the sell case. So I'll just copy this, then we will modify together. So here, in the case we are dealing with sell, and the difference between the entry price and the price current, which is this, is greater or equal to the trailing start, and the stop loss is previously 0, or the stop loss is greater than the entry price. So that's the case of sell. Then the new stop loss should be the market price plus the trail step and modify. And the case of sell also, then you realize that the difference between this and this already reach this trailing start condition, then the stop loss is less than or equal to the entry price. So what we want to do is we also want to make sure that the difference between the old stop loss and the current price, because we are dealing with a sell case. So in the case of sell, the take profit or the profit is usually earned when the market is below the entry price, right? So In that case, we want to trail, but the new stop loss should be the market price plus this trailing step value. So that is the case. So let's quickly save and compile so to see that in action. So let me have my strategy tester back on. You can see by default we have it on true. So, and we have this trailing starting at 100 pips, and we have the trailing step at 100 pips as well. So let's quickly see that in action. So I will increase this, then I will, so you can see, let's see. So now the market has moved our stop loss, right? So now the next stop loss will be moved when the market is 200 pips, or when the difference between this new stop loss and the market price is 200 pips, that is times 2 of 100 pips. So then it will move our stop loss to this point. So let's quickly see if that will happen. So let me make this faster. All right, so now, so when the market moved 200 pips from the last stop loss position, it moved the stop loss to be 100 pips away from the market price. So now the next trading will be done when the market move 100 pips from this point, or 200 pips from the last stop loss. So that is what we've done in the logic. So, and so on. Okay, let's see. Hopefully it doesn't hit our stop loss so that we can see this in action. So let me increase this. Good. So the market move again. Then it moved our stop loss. When the market moved 200 pips away from this stop loss again, it is still going to move our, you can see, and so on until the stop loss is, yes, until the stop loss is hit. So now what we want to do is, whenever there is a buy position, now a new sell signal or call, meanwhile we are already in profit. So what we want to do is we want to close the buy position and open the sell position, right? So let's quickly undo that so that we just don't trail to infinity. So what we can do is we can say closing at opposite signal, right? So the moment we have just one position, which is this, right? So we can just put this one in the case where, so in the case where trading is not required. So we can say if trading, right? So yeah, right? So now we need this as well, so we can have it outside this particular block so that we're able to reuse it, right? So now if we are dealing with a buy position, right? So we can say, instead of always calling this, we can just say position type. So you can say post type. So we can have that here. So you can say a non-position type. So you can say post type. So right here. So instead of always calling this, we can just say post type each time. Okay, same here. We need it here. And here. So now, the moment the position type is of buy, position type buy. Meanwhile, there is a sell signal, right? Meanwhile, there is a sell signal, that is the value for this sell buffer, for this buffer is not empty. So what we want to do is we want to first check if the profit, so now let's quickly create variable profit. So how do we get that? We can say profit, which is this guy's profit, profit. So the moment the profit is greater than 0, that means that means the position is in profit, right? So if the position is in profit, so you know what? let's let our function to return something so that we'll be able to get out of the logic. So you can just say, even here we can say return, this, right? So here we can say return as well. So the moment you're able to trail, just return everything, just return, do nothing anymore. So the moment you're able to trail, just return it. Now if we are in a buy position, then there is a sell signal. So what we want to do is we want to close the position. So we can say trade position close. So we can say this. Oops. So we want to say trade close this position using the ticket, right? And in the case where the position is not in profit, so we want to open a sell position. So we can say, okay, we can say return trade sell, right? Using what lot size? Using lot size multiplied by the lot size multiplier. So if the initial position is 1 lot size, though the next one will be 2 lot size if the lot multiplier is 2. Then at what pair? So what symbol do you want to buy? This chart symbol, which is of variable pair, right? At what price? We can just specify 0, which is the bid price. Then the stop loss should be 0, take profit should be 0, and this. Now, in the case where the position is of position sell, it's a sell position, right? Meanwhile, there is a buy signal, so buy, right? So what we want to do is we want to check if the position is in profit. The moment the position is in profit, we want to close it, right? Position close, right? Then after this, if the position is not in profit, we want to open a buy position, right, with higher lot size. Then the stop loss and take profit should be 0. So we can also put ask price here, then we put bid price here, but the moment I put 0, it will automatically pick it up for me, so I don't need to worry. So that is that. So we can actually see that in action, but let's not waste time. So now let's handle the case where we have a buy position and a sell position. That means we've edged, but we want to get out at break even. So that means if field, okay, I think we have this field inside something. Oh, it is inside this. Okay, we can't call this because we are outside now. So if the field is greater than 1, that means we have more than 1 position. Then the total profit, so we create this function in few minutes, then the total profit is greater or equal to the edge break-even specified. So what we want to do is we want to close all the position, close all trades, right? Then return what? Return that, oh, we are done with this. So let's quickly create this. Sorry about this. Let me increase this. So now I can say this. You know what? I'll copy this. So here I'll say profit. And each time we are able to get this, so I want to say profit plus equals profit. Oops. Right? Then we want to return profit. So for the close, we can say close all trades, right? So we can say, oops. So we can say this, we don't need this. We are not returning anything. So what we want to do is the moment we are able to select the position, so we want to close the position. So in the case where we also have a pending order, so we are going to create that in few minutes. Then in the case where we have a case where we have some pending order related to this particular EA, so what we want to do is we want to delete them, right, based on the ticket. So that's what we are trying to do here. Oops. So you can see now we've written this function. So this will be closing at break even, closing cycle at break even, after edging, right? So that is what this will be doing. And now, how do we edge? Now, in the case where, you know what, let's quickly save and compile so that we see that in action. Okay, so now we need to specify that, oh, in the case where nothing is in the case where none of this returns something, we just want to return -1 by default, right? So now let's quickly test our EA. So we're expecting this to trail. So you can see it is trailing. It is trailing. And when there is a sell position, it closed this previous buy and now it's selling. So now, in the case where the market did not go in our favor, then there's a buy signal. A buy signal will be open with higher lot size compared to this sell position. And in the case where the market goes in our favor, it is going to trail or close at buy signal when there is a buy signal. Let's see. Good. So now, it happened fast, but this sell position was not in profit before the occurrence of this buy signal. You can see. But when the market goes in favor of the buy signal, due to the fact that this buy signal is of higher lot size, you can see 0.2 is of higher lot size. So it was able to compensate for the loss on this sell position. That is why we're able to close everything at $1. Because $1 was specified for the edge break even by default. So now we have another sell position at this point, right? But a new buy position occurred here. So we created a new buy position with higher lot size. If the market goes in this favor and the cumulative profit and loss is $1 or more, it is going to close all the positions. And if there is an order, it is also going to close it. So let's make this slower. And the case when the market doesn't go in the buy positions direction, so what we want to do is we want to have a new sell stop position with higher lot size, in this case 0.04, so that if the market comes to this level, we want to have a new entry, a new sell entry, with the hope that the market will go in this direction. Then if this gets filled, we want to have a new buy stop with higher lot size compared to the last sell, and so on until the market goes in the direction of the higher lot size. So let's see. You can see. Let's wait. Good. So in the case where we have a sell stop, the market will have hit this sell stop, and if the market eventually go in this direction, we will have been able to close all these positions at a break even. But now we don't have a sell stop position, or even if we have a sell stop position, we don't have a buy stop position. So let's quickly create that so that each time the market reverses, we prepare for that. We hedge again and we continue hedging until the market move in our direction. So now, how do we do that? What we can do is we can say if the filled position is still higher than 1, that means we've started hedging and we don't have any pending position open. So we can say total pending. So we create this in few minutes. So the total pending is equal to 0. We don't have any pending position open. So what we want to do is, okay, where should I put this? Okay, you know what? We can say this total pending. So we can just copy this. You can say count, then this count plus plus, then return this count. So the moment we don't have any pending position, so what we want to do is we want to make sure that we have the last position selected, so I'll be able to know the direction. So using this trade index, right? Then let's store the position type, right? So you can say post type. which is this price, position type. Now, so now what should be the new volume? So the new volume should be what? This volume multiplied by, which is the last trade position volume. So which is the last volume multiplied by the lot multiplier. Now, in the case where we are dealing with buy, right? Then let's create another function that we get the last direction index that we specify. So you know what, we can still borrow from this. So, but we rename this to be last direction index. So this will be expecting a buy or a sell. So we can say buy this. So this will be expecting a buy or a sell. So now we can remove this. We don't want this. So in the case where you select the position, you see that the position symbol is equal to this chart symbol and the position was created by this EA, and the type of this position is the same with the one specified when this function was called. So position type is equal to type. What we want to do is we want to return that index. So in the case where the last position is a buy, so we want to get the last entry price of the last sell position. So how do we do that? So we can easily say select by index the value specified by this whenever we are trying to get position for sell. So that is that. And we are interested in the entry price of this last sell position. So we can say price open, right? Then, so we can say, now set out a sell stop with what volume? With this new volume, right? And at what price? At the entry price of the last sell position. Now, using this symbol, right? The stop loss should be 0, the take profit should be 0, right? Or we can say the stop loss should be the previous sell position stop loss. So, but you know what, let's just use 0. So once we know that it will be 0, then when should it close? Close it until you cancel it, right? The expiration should be 0, since we want to close until we cancel it ourselves. Then the comment should be this. So that is what we are trying to do. Now, in the case where the last position is a sell, so of course we want to create a buy stop. So the case where the last position type sell, and we are able to select the last buy trade, so that we need the entry price. We want our entry price to be the last buy trade. So we can say type buy. So what we want to do is we want to first get the last entry price, which is this, right? So price open, open. So we can say trade buy stop. This is the new volume, and this should be the entry price on this pair, 0, 0, this, and this. So we can equally return this, whatever, maybe it is returning true or false, which is 0 or 1. So we can just return. Also, we can check if this is successful, if you are able to successfully send out the stop order. Then I think that should be all. So we can save. So 101. So it is telling us that we have an error somewhere. Okay, so now we use new entry here. Meanwhile, it should be this. So let's save and compile. Now we have no error. So let's quickly test. So I'll start. You can see now I have my buy position because we have a buy signal. So it is going to trail until the stop loss is hit or a new sell position signal happens. So let's see. You can see. So when there's a new sell position, it is going to close. Yes, it closed at a new sell position. when the market comes down for this sell position, it's going to trail. And when the market doesn't go in the direction of this sell position, but instead there is a new buy signal, it is going to buy at a higher lot size. You can see that is now happening. So if the market goes in this favor, it is going to close all the position and order. But in preparation for this market reversing, the EA already placed a new sell stop at this level. So in the case where the market comes down to this level, there is a sell stop to counter that, to edge that. So the stop order have a higher lot size compared to the last buy position. So now if the market refuses to go up and comes to this direction, it is going to fill up this sell position and also place a buy stop. So if the market eventually comes down, we close the old position at cumulative profit, and if the market comes up, it is going to hit the new buy stop, and so on. So let's see. Okay, good. So you can see it's closed the whole position at break even. So okay, now we have a new signal. Then we have our hedge, because this sell position did not go in profit. Now it's enter a new buy position when there is a new buy signal from the super trend, right? Then it counter this buy position in the case where the market refuses to go in the direction of the buy. So it prepares that, okay, whenever the market comes to this level, come back to this last sell position, you want to enter a new sell stop. So you want to enter a new sell trade with higher lot size. So that is what we are trying to do. So let's see. Good. So now, after opening a sell position of this 0.04, it placed a new buy stop, and the buy stop have 0.08. Now that the buy stop has been filled, it creates a new sell stop at this level, which is 0.16, right? So now you can see when the market moved in the direction of the sell, it closed everything at profit, and so on. So you can see it was about to trail. It started trailing this particular sell position, because after its sell signal, it is a buy signal for the super trend. So now you can see the market moved in our favor, and it trailed until the market hits our top loss. So we are expecting the sell position. Good. Okay, now we are in hedge. Okay, we are able to close at break even, and so on. So now our EA is working fine. You can see we are not losing. Our balance and equity keeps increasing until we are not in a trend, which leads to a margin call. So that's the problem with this strategy. So this strategy should be used in a trending market and should be used on a demo account. This video is an educational purpose. I'm trying to teach you how to develop forex trading bot. So I hope you've learned something. If you enjoy videos like this, or you have a particular strategy you want me to code, you can comment in the comment section. If you find it hard to understand some of the things I mentioned in the video, and you would like to learn how to develop your own indicator, or you would like to learn how to develop your own trading bot, you can check out the link in the description that leads to this page, where you have a complete guide on MQL5. So even if you do not know anything about Forex, you will be able to follow along. And if you do not know anything about programming, you still will be able to follow along, because I break down MQL5 piece by piece. So all you need to do is make sure you go through this course step by step, lecture by lecture, and participate in all the practice. So you can see we even have 5 real life projects, and in one of the projects we learn how to send out telegram signals, right? Also we learn how to draw objects like trend lines, button, even create a dashboard. So be sure to check out the link in the description. Also check out the link in the description for the source code for this particular project. I hope you've learned something. I'll see you on the next one.